And with that, I think we'll open it up to questions. I'm going to turn it over to our question moderator, Emily. And I'll just note that I see Carlton with his hand up, eager to jump in there. So
awesome. Yeah, please, Carlton, go ahead and start us off. And then I think Mitchell Lee had a question earlier on. We'll go with him next.
Thank you for letting me go first because I have to go to a Zoom at another Zoom at 1:30. My name is Carlton Saito. I'm the incoming committee clerk for Senator Mike Gabbard, who chairs the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Environment. So first of all, to Chris, I live a quarter mile from your facility. So I pass by it every day. I've been watching the progress. Would you be open to inviting Senator Gabbard to tour your facility?
Yes, yeah, thank you for the question. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, we'd love to host the senator and your group, and also bring out our chancellors as well.
If you would maybe send an invitation to sendgabbard@capital.com. Sorry, capital.hawaii.com. No, .gov.
.gov, okay. Capital.gov.
Send Gabbard at capital.hawaii.gov. Attention, Nanook, Nanouk.
Sorry, can you repeat that last part?
Attention, Nanook, Nanouk.
Okay.
She does the scheduling. And if you can also send your slide presentation, you can put that attention me, Carlton. Sorry, I don't have my Senate email set up yet.
No problem. I'll send that out.
And to all the speakers and everyone else on the phone call, the Zoom call, I'd like to ask, what do you think are the main factors holding Hawaii back from achieving greater food self-sufficiency? And if you can send that to send Gabbard to my attention, maybe the 3 or 5 main factors, whether it be lack of land, lack of farmers, how can we encourage more young people to get into agriculture? And also, perhaps what types of agriculture might be able to coexist with solar facilities? I mean, I know sheep, I've heard herbs, what else is there that can coexist? And I guess that's about it. Like what can the state do to encourage greater food self-sufficiency? Thank you.
if you guys could just quickly, solve our state's agricultural problems, that'd be great.
Jane, I see your hand, but real quick, Mitchell, are you still with us? And did you have a question you wanted to ask from earlier?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for this session. I am very impressed and feel very good about each of the 3 presentations. But I'm also a little envious because we don't have that kind of activity on the Big Island. And however, we have individuals who are doing great things. If the short speech is to you all is don't forget us out here on the neighbor islands. Chris, I know this is not realistic, but if you could have 1 day a week for people from the Big Island, I mean, what you're talking about sounds like a dream come true. And I'm part of a small group. We're starting a co-op of small farmers. The reality is, and I don't want to be long-winded, but all the excellent things each of you are doing, the rubber doesn't hit the road here. And for the gentleman, Carlton, from the senator's office, we want to do this kind of thing, and we're working on it on an individual level. The reality is, while the individuals are very nice, the people at CTAHR and the University of Hawaii Extension are just don't have the bandwidth. And I don't want to get down on them. They're wonderful individuals. But this new forward-looking stuff is just outside of their bandwidth. The rubber's not hitting the road here. Please bring it from the gentleman to the senator's office. Work with us. Let's get, we have so much farmland here where we could be planting turmeric and ginger, but we don't have more than individuals doing their own thing. It's a bunch of great individuals doing a bunch of individual stuff. We have nothing unifying and making the sum more than the individuals. I think that's what I want to say. I don't want to get down on people. I just want to say don't forget about us. Okay.
Real quick, can I respond to that? I don't feel that Kauai has particularly an organized effort like Oahu has. We are a bunch of individuals as well. The difference being that now we have some access to the things that Chris and JP are doing. I think that that's the main lesson I'm taking away from this, is that there are resources that are being developed. And so having a pipeline and a direct access to participate, whether it's virtually or flying over, to get the resources that we need, I think that's the key, because I've had to do everything here myself without additional, we don't have facilities here, so I do all my bottling by hand. Like, it's pretty grassroots, but you now have direct access to some resources that I think that Big Island farmers, who actually are surprisingly advanced when it comes to value added. I know several also good food award winners from Big Island specifically, who are just leaps and bounds ahead of any other island. So you guys are doing something right. It's just, it happens to be kind of like working in a void when you don't see it all.
Well, frankly, it's very insular. The rich get richer. I'm sorry, but I have to push back. And I think it's wonderful what you've done on Kauai. I think it's wonderful what these individuals have done on the Big Island. But there's simply a lot of insularity, and both within the island and across the islands. And I think that is a roadblock. I have a PhD in organizational psychology. And the reason I bring that up is I want to embrace what JP was saying about the value of basic research. It's important, and it can lead to practical results. But there's dynamics here that get in the way of work getting done. And I think that needs to be addressed.
Vito, I just want to kind of follow on to that as well, maybe from your experience being on a neighbor island. Also, are there examples you could give of ways that you were able to connect to some of those resources, or specifics that you think us neighbor island folks could leverage better to do more of that in the future?
Well, Emily, the turmeric workshop that you gave many years ago now was one of the first places where I was able to understand that there were other farmers out there that I could purchase from, what people were doing, what kind of varieties of turmeric existed, and what the differences are, and what I wanted to focus on in my products. So, I mean, I think that CTAHR has like a major role in connecting farmers and value-added producers, or helping farmers become value-added producers. So maybe having more on the outer islands, more facilities that are specific to that aspect of farming, because I think Go Farm is a good example of where farmers are learning to farm, but I don't know if Go Farm creates a environment where there's necessarily a lot of emphasis on value added, So I guess that would be my takeaway.
Real quick, I see Carlton has his hand up, but if I could just add, Mitchell, I appreciate the comment. And just so you know, I know from a state level, folks like Senator Dela Cruz, they're pushing to create a statewide food innovation network where there's infrastructure on each island. For my position as the manager of this project from the CCs, we've been going out and talking with our colleagues at Maui College, and also been out to talk with our counterparts at YCC around how we can resource share and how we could work together using one another's facilities and staff, so we can build out scenarios where we can either teleconsult, or we could bring staff out to a neighbor island, so we're not recreating each other's wheels. So we want to be able to not have this project be Oahu centric. And we've done through some of our programs like Ana Makeke, we brought folks from neighbor island into our cohort, since a lot of that was digital. So we definitely want to build out a statewide web of service.
So
Awesome.
can I say,
Please, Jane, go ahead.
I'm Jane Ty from Hawaii Master Food Preservers. And I think what Mitch has said about the Big Island, which I'm on the Big Island, is appropriate. But on the other hand, we do have classes, and we've been talking to Chris and we've been talking to Maui Food Innovation Center is really what we do, the Master Food Preservers, as Gita also says, she took a class with UH Master Food Preservers, is we work with farmers and the community who want to learn about the value added and know the basic science behind it. So while we may not go all into the biochemistry of it, at least then they know they are producing what is food safe and shelf stable. So, and what we're trying to do is showcase or show people that we have an abundance of crops here in fruits, vegetables, and proteins, and you can do value added. But once you come through our classes, we need to funnel you into something. And I think one of the things that Mitch was saying is that is true. We don't have the facilities on the Big Island, but it would be good if say, for example, you were to take your course or whatever on the road, do a road show so that we can, once a month or whatever, we can funnel these people into your organization. They will have to make the commitment as to whether they move to Maui, move to Oahu, how serious are they, how young are they. Then we can actually build a little bit more, potentially build a little more momentum here on the different islands. It's for Gita, she was determined enough to actually go that path. But there's a lot of people here who, because we don't have the resources, they actually they lose hope. Essentially, they lose steam, they lose their determination because there's not the resources, both financially, economically, as well as opportunities for that. So one of the things I would actually like to see a lot more collaboration with the innovation centers and bring it down one more notch, which is bring it to the community more. I mean, it's great to have students go into your cohorts that, and they're young and so on, but you have the farmers who also want to do value added with their, their seconds. And so let's take your program and bring it down a notch so that we could actually reach that group of people as well.
Jane, you just articulated it extremely well. Thank you for adding to what I tried. I think you said it much more eloquently. Thank you so much.
I would just like to say something. I've been in CTAHR for 16 years and I have been disappointed. The issue is, as I said, my background is not in ag, but I've made the attempt. And we have worked with a number of farmers, small and big, in regards to helping them. So that help is there. It's just trying to find the right people to work with. I am hoping and very hopeful. We are now looking for a new dean. And this new dean, we had 3 candidates that came through, all have these strict visions in regards to incorporation of activities across the state with our extension officers, as well as improving those capacities, as well as providing greater personnel, because that is what is also needed. So I would love to see Hilo get involved with something like we see at Leawood Community College and break this to a further extension in regards to encompassing value-added product production across the state on every major island where there is farms and there is potential to move those products back through Oahu and to be exported to mainland or elsewhere. The issue is, we have changed in CTAHR. I can only hope we can change our direction with some new leadership, that ultimately we're here to service the state of Hawaii and not the mainland. Thank you.
Great. I really appreciate everyone's questions and comments on this issue. I especially, Jane, your call for more collaboration, I think is key, and it's part of why we're doing these forums, trying to build more connectivity and just more communication. And Chris, your response as well, that that you're looking at collaborating. You mentioned the community colleges, and that's great. I think that they're a tremendous resource because most of them, maybe all of them, even have culinary programs, which means that they have commercial kitchen facilities and could be a key partner. So just wanted to see if there are other questions or responses from the group.
I just wanted to share too that, I think the social infrastructure is something we don't talk about enough, right? And is something that needs to develop to really move the needle on agriculture in Hawaii, right? We have 7,500 farms in the state. No matter how resource CTAHR or the UH system is, like, we'll never be able to work with 7,500 individuals. And I think the model of extension that we're seeing across the Pacific and in other areas, right, is localized organizations that then can interface, right? And so JP, as he mentioned, is working with the Hawaii Ulu Co-op, which represents 160 farmers. And so through one organization, you can benefit a much bigger base because that social organization has increased the efficiency of the outreach. And so I think, things need to move at both ends. At the community level, like that organizational capacity needs to build up, and at the top down end, like, there needs to be more resources and directed services as well. But I think both those things are necessary to really move the needle.
So to that point, I think we pointed out a few of the things that we need or would like to see. Are there any thoughts from the group maybe on next steps or how we could work on moving that proverbial needle and making some of this happen, whether it be from the kind of grassroots side or from more institutional capacities?
I think a prompt I like maybe from our three panelists, if you guys had like one call to action from the broader populace, what would that be?
Communication to your colleges. Find those key people and talk to them. I have people who email me wanting, we do a lot of still do turmeric analysis. Sure, we'll put you on the list to do it, but it just takes us time to get enough materials to process, because as I said, these machines expensive to run, and basically we need a large batch of materials to bring them through. We just can't do one single analysis on demand for that day. And that's an unfortunate thing about science. As I mentioned, the equipment and expense of it. So if we have 50 samples, we can do 50 samples, but we'll wait till we get 50 samples. So again, you've got to also understand the pressures we're under in regards to doing the stuff that we need to do in the research side. So communication, finding your kingpin person who might also know other people within the university or the college that might be able to help you. So communication is really, really essential.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement there. I mean, and this is, our project hasn't even launched yet. So, sometimes we could be heads down, but we definitely don't want to operate in a silo. And we're going to learn a lot from this project too. So we're definitely excited to be able to host the community, hopefully get, folks in this meeting through the center to help kind of realize the potential as we go forward. And we're going to learn a lot in this first year when the center opens up too. Because again, we're trying to create these pathways for youth. And then using the term student, we're really kind of interpreting that is, across many ways. So a student could be an early college student, a student could be a farmer, a student could be an entrepreneur. So we're just trying to be mindful of creating as many touch points into our center as possible.
So what was the exact question? What would be the one thing that I would want to see happen? Is that what it was?
Or like a call to action, for listeners, right? If there's one thing they could do to help contribute.
Well, presuming that if you're a viewer who wants to create a product, that you make the connections with the farms. And I think a really good place to do that is CTAHR, because you guys and the Farmers Union, for example, there's access to people growing interesting things. I just connected one young woman with who makes a dehydrated beverage mix with hibiscus farmers on Maui, because she didn't actually know where to find local hibiscus or that it existed as an option. And it's something, there are tons of it growing everywhere, so I think making those connections with the farms, taking the time to actually go and see what it takes to produce the ingredient, because a lot of value added, or rather CPG products, are just a list of ingredients that you buy from Amazon or the store and you put into a bottle, and that's not it. In Hawaii, it's a whole different scene, and to take the time to understand the process that goes into getting the ingredients to your jar is going to make a huge difference in making those connections on the bigger scale once we decide to scale up, and when we all can start talking, and like one island can grow one thing in one season and we can source from there during that season. I mean, I have this like pipe dream of that being the case in the state, because we have so many microclimates. I could get lilikoi from 4 different islands throughout the year continuously if everybody who could grow lilikoi in that particular season was growing it effectively. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
And I just might add to that. I find conversations like the one we're having now incredibly inspiring, because I mean, we've been engaging interested folks from all corners, right? Including entrepreneurs that are creating stuff that is, market tested, it's recognized by the consumer, but it might be something like a freeze-dried piece of candy, right? And I don't want to ice them out. I do not want to create that gate. I don't want to be the gatekeeper there, but rather facilitate a conversation to where they could tap into kind of this, groupthink that what we're having now, as far as how do we bridge that gap to create. Their goal is to create a business that's viable, that they could build a legacy company out of, that they could pass down through their family or to sustain themselves as a lifestyle. Like, I want to support that, but it's part of a longer term conversation we have to have. So I get inspired by conversations like this, because I think it's our role as stewards of the community to be able to support users coming from kind of that track of thought where they're interested, but they're just trying to get a business off the ground.
I would also like to add innovation, but also thinking about waste in regards to our byproducts, and whether there are actual added potential to allow us to produce additional novel products from the waste that we produce. And as I said, we went through with the ginger, where we know people make ginger juice and they throw away the ginger material. There's ways you can actually get additional products from that. But again, that takes a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of insight. But the issue is, as farmers and as producers, come and see us. We have ideas. We can give you consultations. We can, throw you in the right direction, hopefully. But also, as has happened with a few people I've worked with in the past, word of mouth, they come and see me. I sit them down. We have an hour conversation and say, okay, look, this is what I can do, and this is what I can offer. Do you want this service? We've got to find the money for it, maybe from the Department of Ag or in a grant or something else, but we're willing and able to provide, maybe some support service to add value to that product. You want to know how much of that compound's present, or if it's, viable and bioactive or whatever, So these pieces of data add value to the uniqueness of the product too. And Chris, I have to say, my class will be coming to your facility to look at it for sure, because this is something we're hoping that these are graduate students, by the way, PhDs and masters, wanting them to actually think about taking their knowledge, their skills, and their base to go further and become entrepreneurs, not just be lab techs or whatever, but actually really put their hands, their skills, and their minds to new ventures that will support Hawaii. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So
I would love to connect.
I will echo what Nick says. Don't forget us on the other islands. Because the Hawaii Master Food Preservers, which I said I'm a part of, Ken Love and I actually started the company about 2 years ago. It was part of the Hawaii Tropical Fruit Growers, and from what I understand, it was piloted with UH. Except at that time, and this was about 15 years ago, UH Big Island said, and don't quote me, but my understanding is that it was administratively too difficult for them to do. So they left that responsibility to the tropical fruit growers, and then essentially, as I said, 2 years ago, we started off on our own because we realized that the larger community wants to know how to do these value-added products. Now, they may not be unique. They may think that they're unique, but they may not be unique. And I will tell you that one student came through me, Chris, and he was doing barbecue jackfruit in these retort bags. We had no idea where to send him. And he was confronted with what, the nutritional value, which JP could have helped with. He was confronted with how do I scale up, which, Gita's experience would have helped him as well. And we can give him the basics, and that's all we could do. We're not experts in there. So having an innovation center, and that's where I said, let's share the resources. And while Mitch, I would love to have it on the Big Island, nonetheless, we have it on the other islands. So at least, let's work together to do that, and obviously get some funding for us as well too. So
But Jane,
that really
just on that question about the Big Island, why not have a unit on the Big Island? Why not approach the University of Hilo in regards to, or the community college in regards to, hey, look, we've got 2 models of this already in the UH system. Okay, why not a 3rd model?
If someone is willing to champion that would be great.
A lot of us are on the west side of the island, and Hilo is just not practical. It is a big island. And I think the community college up north, again, wonderful people, but they're just stretched.
Yes.
There's just not the resources.
Yeah, but we have to make those resources and
Yes.
provide the people specifically for that to do that. We can't keep tagging additional tasks on the limited resources that we have now with our faculty. So again, it requires momentum from grassroots. It requires contacting representatives. It requires talking to the universities and institutes in regards to, hey, this is what the community wants. Can you make a move to it? You have a college, you have a community college that have examples of this already in the state. Somehow, some way, it can be done. It just takes momentum. And we're hoping that programs like this with connections and talking, that we're going to get that fire and get that momentum. And that's what I hope for.
Wonderful.
A question I saw in the chat that Kylie had mentioned food hubs or farm hubs and food hubs.
Yep.
I'm wondering for some of the other island folks, are there commercial kitchen spaces available? Could food hubs potentially also play a role in offering that to smaller food entrepreneurs that are looking to get started? I know there's some aspirations for that and projects in the works here on Kauai, but I'd be curious to hear from Hawaii Island and
on
others.
Hawaii Island, the Koala Center has been feverishly trying to put together all the commercial kitchens that are public. I mean, there are some certified kitchens that are just private entities or whatnot, but it's an ongoing target. A lot of it has to do with funding. And also administration or people to actually manage the facility itself. And then some of the facilities are also outdated. So it's actually, I mean, it's difficult. And the others also, when you have a commercial kitchen, for those small vendors who are potentially in farmers markets now, it is prohibitively expensive. There are some barriers to even making it into a value-added product for small scale farmer markets, rather than and as opposed to even taking it to the next step of retail and going onto the shelf.
I'll just add, actually, I was the person with the Kohala Center putting together that list. And we do have it. It is at this point outdated because it changes year to year. But yeah, there are a bunch of outdated kitchens, but a bunch of new ones have come online recently, especially on the west side. La'iopua has one. Uluvini, the housing complex, has one that is not yet finished, but should be finished soon. So some of those are coming available, and I believe that the Hawaii, the Food Basket is making their ag Innovation Center, I believe it's called. And I think that one will have a certified kitchen as well. So it's one of those things where I believe that that request and need has been heard from the community. And I think there are places that are working to make that happen on the Big Island.
Nice. I'm just gonna hop in. We're over time and two of our speakers need to check out. So I just wanna quickly again say thank you guys for joining and sharing. Thank you the audience. We had a relatively smaller turnout today, but I think a very passionate turnout and really appreciated the discussion and conversation afterwards. A lot of value there and really appreciate it. For those of you guests, Safi dropped in a link for our survey. If you want to fill that out, part of that too is providing future topics for the seminar that we will delve into and discuss. So if you have ideas, please do share it there. And besides that, thank you everyone for joining and especially our speakers again. Chris, look forward to getting out there. JP, we'll see you soon. And thank you everybody. Aloha.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Should we stop the recording?
Probably a good idea. Thank you.